Between rising costs for everyday goods to wild weather, Americans are battling a wide range of issues right now. Unfortunately, most of those concerns don't have an easy solution, but that doesn't mean work isn't being done to fix them. Joining me now to share more about some of the work being done here in Colorado is the Executive Director of ACLU Colorado, Olivia Mendoza. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
We were just talking about the wide range of work you guys do. For those who are not familiar with the ACLU and its 100-plus-year-old history now, what do folks need to know right off the bat?
Well, I think it's really important to acknowledge that ACLU National is 100 years old, and the Colorado affiliate, we are 74 years old,
Wow.
celebrating 75 next year. But the core fight has been consistent over all these years, and that is to protect our civil liberties and fight for our civil rights.
What are some of the critical issues that are being addressed or challenged right now by the ACLU?
You know, if I had to say it in one word, I would say really being vigilant against government overreach, federal government overreach. What we've been seeing is federal agencies who have really been terrorizing and focusing and targeting vulnerable communities. We've seen that with ICE and National News Colorado specifically. So we're really trying to fight. Right now we have 9 cases against either ICE, Department of Homeland Security, or GEO to try to protect civil rights and civil liberties.
Talked about all that work with this ICE situation. How does the work of ACLU impact Latinos specifically here in our state?
Well, I think if you look at our history, any time that civil rights or civil liberties are being infringed upon or targeted, those most impacted are also vulnerable communities, right? Latino communities, Black communities, sometimes rural communities. And so where we see the impact is all of this effort is really targeted on these communities that really need to be protected and fight for their rights. And an example I will give you is just a couple of days ago, you know, protesters in front, protesting the potentially opening of a new GEO ICE facility. And, you know, they were ticketed and arrested for exercising their free speech. So I think every time we fight for civil rights and civil liberties, we are focusing and caring for the most vulnerable, which oftentimes are Latino communities.
Makes sense. Olivia, you are an immigrant yourself. How does that impact your work and the experiences that you've been through?
It is the core of who I am. I live in this world and navigate this space, never losing sight of my own culture and my own experience and my parents' experiences here. And the reason why I fight so strongly for this is because when I became a U.S. citizen, I did it in a commitment to this country, right? I love my home country, which is Mexico, but I'm a U.S. citizen and am trying really hard to bend that arc of justice to ensure that other individuals like myself that have my story have an ability to pursue the American dream. So it is, like I said, the core of who I am, why I fight for this work, and why I have dedicated over 20 years of my career for civil rights.
You talked about how busy you are right now. I'm curious, as you look into the future, if you're able to do that much, what are some of your long-term goals and hopes for the organization?
Yeah, right now, long-term futures, can I get through this week, right? When I think about the ACLU Colorado, so as I mentioned, I just came into this role, became the new executive director about 5 months ago, and so I'm very much in the place of thinking, what is our most powerful version of an ACLU Colorado over the course of the next 10 years. And I think it is staying true to our core and staying true to our mission. So in addition to the government overreach, we also carefully monitor and fight against mass surveillance. Just in the more short term, looking toward the fall, we are making sure that our communities understand the impact of some really harmful ballot measures that are targeting immigrant communities, that are designed to increase criminalization and increase populations in the prisons, and also fighting against anti-trans measures. So I think the focus is the same, right? Protect our civil rights, fight for our civil liberties, and we do that in a way that is responsive to the moment in Colorado.
Makes sense. Olivia, for folks who would like to learn more about the organization, where can they do so?
Well, we have a great website, aclucolorado.org, and I will just highlight that we just released last week a new really oversight on ICE and immigration, and a new report that talks about the lack of oversight. And so I encourage people to go look at that on our website, read it, get your arms around what's happening here in Colorado. And that is constantly updated with all the cases that we are in litigation and, fighting against. So it's a great source, a great resource. And of course, we're on all the social media, Instagram, and all the things the young people do.
All the things the young people do. Olivia, lots to talk about. And thank you so much for taking the time to break down some of that with us this morning.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.